Hello everybody and welcome in the second part of this video about this really weird European resolution that was voted 1 month ago.
Importance of European remembrance for the future of Europe.
So if you didn't see last week's video, maybe you should start by the one of last week, so you can click in the link that I put in the description below. But basically, I try to explain this resolution, which is a kind of trying to understand what happened in World War II to avoid reproducing that in the future for Europe. Well, this is what the European Union wanted to say. It was their communication around it. But basically, this resolution is just made to support liberal capitalism and the own agenda of the European Union. So this resolution is pure shit for various reasons that we will see right now. So the first really problematic aspect is historical. All this text is based on the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, which is a kind of treaty of non-aggression signed by the Soviet Union and the Nazis in 1939. Yeah. But in all this text, there's no mention at all of the Munich Treaty, Munich Agreement. Munich Agreement was a pact signed by the French and the British, I think so, with the Nazis and the Italian, and in 1938. And basically, what the French and the English said to the Nazis, they said, hey, Hitler, you know, if you want, you can just go and take Czechoslovakia if you don't bother us. That's cool. Oh yeah, and by the way, this is a picture of Neville Chamberlain, so the UK Prime Minister, shaking hands with Hitler. Oops.
There indeed is no future for Europe without remembering and being aware of our darkest hour, and the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact and its secret protocols definitely is one of those darkest hours.
If this Slovak deputy only mentioned the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, it's a way of saying, look, the communists, they did a pact with the Nazis, so they're responsible of World War II. And it's also totally forgetting that that France and the UK also signed a pact with Adolf Hitler. It is then a way of whitewashing the responsibility and the implication of the liberal powers of Europe, France and UK. That's bad, but it's not the worst. I mean, playing with history, it's already bad, but we will see that it gets even badder if we ask ourselves, why does the European Union plays with history? The European Union, through this treaty, want to put Nazism and communism on the same level. They basically say, okay, so if Hitler signed something with Stalin, it means that it's both totalitarian regimes. So it means then that Nazism is the same than Stalinism. Oh, but Stalinism is the same than communism. So then communism is the same than Nazism. It's a way of just putting all the what they call the extremes on the same level. And we can see that through the articles. In Article 5, the EU says,
Calls on all member states of the EU to make a clear and principled assessment of the crimes and acts of aggression perpetrated by totalitarian communist regimes and the Nazi regimes.
And then in Article 6,
condemns all manifestation and propagation of totalitarian ideologies such as Nazism, Stalinism in the EU.
So you see, it's a slippery mix. Sometimes they say Nazism and Stalinism, and sometimes they say Nazi regime and communist regime. And it's a way of really putting all that at the same level and saying that communism is Stalinism is Nazism. Nazism isn't the same than Stalinism, and Stalinism is not the same than communism. So communism is not Nazism. I'm a fucking communist. I'm not a Nazi. I mean, look, it doesn't look the same. I'm a communist. You can't put them on the same level. And in terms of political strategy, if the European Union does that, is to create a confusion between the Nazis and the communists, saying both of these ideologies are extreme, and that these both ideologies definitely leads to totalitarian political system. And the article number 4 goes exactly in this direction.
Because there can be no reconciliation without remembrance, and reiterates its united stance against all totalitarian rule from whatever ideological background.
What the fuck? What the fuck? What does it mean? Capitalism isn't maybe a totalitarian regime? GAFA, Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, and they're ruling the world. They have more power than the countries, so it's a kind of totalitarian regime globalized worldwide. What is the ideology behind this totalitarian regime? It is liberal capitalism. And guess what? How does the European Union defend their liberal capitalist position? By saying it's democratic.
And that the European Union has a particular responsibility to promote and to safeguard democracy.
And it's a way of saying the liberal capitalist, we are the democracy. We are Democrats. We are the only Democrats. And if you have another ideology, you're not a Democrat. All other ideologies are not democratic. It's a super totalitarian point of view. And it's always super easy to use democracy to pass a totalitarian point of view.
Yeah, definitely.
So now we can ask ourselves, really, why did the European Union pass this resolution? Why do they put Nazism and communism on the same level? Why am I not allowed to wear this t-shirt? Why would the Karl Marx Alley in Berlin have to change name? Well, if the European Union does all that, it's for their own agenda. It's just to fix in everybody's mind the idea that the only democratic possible political system is liberal capitalism.
That's why I am calling for greater investments into European remembrance based on mutual understanding, studying, teaching of our joint history and nurturing our European way of life. Thank you, Chair.
Like if there was only one way of life. This is what they want to say through this resolution. And it's a resolution, it's not a law. But it's even worse than a law, because it gives a direction. It uses symbols. It attacks symbols. It creates a whole state of mind. And to change a state of mind is way harder than to change a law. And the state of mind is just our common way of living is global capitalism. I'm sorry, but I don't agree with that. It's not my way of life. I live in this world, but I don't like it. This is not my way of life. I don't want to live in a world where the richer become richer and the poor are poorer. This is not my world. If, like me, you believe that this is not the only way of life, please give me a like, leave a comment in the section below, and obviously, subscribe to this channel. I'll see you next week.